intend to push you to do that. I just had a little time on my hands, and I thought I'd watch another interview because I do learn a lot from that.
Let me know when you're ready.
I'm ready.
Because I'm sure I threw you off a little bit there.
A little bit, but I'm okay.
You heard what I was telling Rick since you were sitting here.
Yes.
I'm going to call those applicants only on the short list shortly after 5 p.m. this evening. In that regard, can you come here and you be quiet with your cell phone so it's not public record? So if you'd like to take a few moments to give an opening statement, you don't have to, you can defer to the questions. The floor is yours.
Thank you. I do plan to defer to the questions because I could not think of anything that's relevant. I didn't want to just take up time blabbing, so I prefer just to take questions.
Okay, Andy, we'll start with you.
Yes, Suzanne, big fan of yours. I'm really amazed at what you do, and we've had the opportunity to have you before us before. As a circuit judge, you know, they have thousands of cases, and you talked about effectively managing your caseload of about 80 cases. How would you apply those same strategies or techniques as a circuit court judge to thousands?
Well, first of all, it's about 80 now. It's I think the height in the guardian office was about 120, but we're currently closing a lot of cases with the judge that's present in the dependency court now. I think every different job I've had to organize things a little bit differently, but I do stay organized. It's just my way of doing things and staying on top of everything. I would rely heavily, of course, on my JA and the clerks that were in the courtroom, but I think mostly I would try to be flexible and give matters the time that they deserve. I don't know exactly, I've thought about it a little bit, how I would arrange, how I would stay organized. I've utilized a lot of different things, dockets that come every week to us. I keep track of my cases on our independent system with the Guardian's Office called Optima, and we've just become, they say paperless, but mostly paperless. So we're pushing to do a lot more on Optima, and I utilize a lot of the other electronic ways to stay on top of the caseload. I usually have the clerk's office website up and the sheriff's office website up on my computer, as well as Optima and the docket. At some point, I maintain my calendar on, oh goodness, I want to say Microsoft. It's on the computer. That's all I can tell you. I'm not very incredibly computer literate, but I know how to utilize the websites to get me what I need. So I know that isn't a very specific answer to your question, but I can tell you that every time I've taken a different job, I've found ways to stay organized and stay on top and changed as needed. I used to keep track of each one of my cases. I created a separate spreadsheet, and once we had the Optima system running, it just became a time suck, and it didn't help me any. There are some attorneys that still do that. Well, I guess just one who still does that, but to me it became a time suck, and so I utilized the information making reports from this Optima system that we have.
I've never heard the word time suck.
You never heard that? I don't think I invented that, did I?
I understand what that means.
I don't think I did.
Donna?
I have heard of that. Yeah. It's so nice to see you.
Thank you. You too.
I've vetted you twice. I feel like I know you. You go for your outstanding and your passion and dedication for what you do. So I was surprised that you didn't apply during the first application deadline, knowing that you had gone up last time. Did you have any reservation in applying again, or was there another circumstance that caused you to apply after when you did extend the deadline?
Absolutely no reservations. I fully intended to apply again. I just didn't hear, just as Rick said, I didn't hear about it. And actually I was at a e-call function about 2 weeks ago on a Thursday night, and I think it was 4 different judges approached me and either said, why didn't you apply, or have you applied? And the first one was, I was like, what? I don't know anything about this, and neither did other people that I talked to. So I don't remember how I don't know how it was advertised, but I just missed it somehow. And when it was reopened, I had about 3 days to update, and I did so at that point.
And I have another next question to that. You know that this, if you were to be appointed, that you would have to run in 2020. Are you prepared to run a campaign for this to keep your spot?
I'm prepared in the sense that I know that I can do it and I would get myself up to speed on it. I'm obviously not prepared right now, but I know that that would be a requirement. I can tell you the first thing I would do would be to do my best to hit the ground running, because certainly a judge who is well respected by the attorneys that appear before him or her is going to be less likely to be challenged. I understand though, as a brand new judge, I might be more vulnerable in that regard. The first thing I would do if that were to happen, would be to consult some of the people that I know that have run campaigns, other judges as well, but other attorneys as well, and gather their knowledge. And I think I mentioned this before, but one beautiful thing about being in the Guardian's office is there are a lot of really concerned, involved citizens who become our guardians ad litem, and a lot of them are retired people who spend a lot of time helping campaigns. Judge Paul got the benefit of that when he had a lot of very dedicated people that were guardian ad litems that worked for his campaign, and I have had a number of them that I've talked to that say that they'd be willing to do the same for me. They said, what street corner do you want me to stand on? And I was like, no, not yet, maybe someday, but I appreciate the energy.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Yeah?
Well, my question was about the application, and Ms. Allen already asked that, and I'm certainly glad that you submitted in the extended period.
Thank you for doing that, I appreciate it.
Bill?
Welcome back.
Thank you.
If you were to be selected, is there any one particular thing that you would want to see happen as a judge considering those that you don't see happening now?
I guess the way I'd answer that is that every judge I've been before, I've seen positives and I've seen negatives. Some judges I see more positives than negatives, and some the other way around, although I have to say the current crop, I don't see as many negatives as some in the past. So I can't think of any, one particular thing without, directly criticizing a judge, which I do not want to do. I see, I have paid attention during my career of things that I think worked for judges and things that didn't work, and I would utilize that knowledge when I went forward. And I think a lot of that has to do with flexibility maybe, or I don't want to repeat Rick's answer, but I think that time management obviously is a big concern. So I think that the negatives that I've seen have a lot to do with that, and in the past, ways that citizens were treated when they came before a judge. And I'm not talking about broad, I'm talking about, small instances. I'm not broadly criticizing any judge in particular. So I can't think of any particular thing that I would say that I don't see happening now. I do appreciate the movements, I guess I would say, with regard to changing the criminal law. Specifically, that is the first thing that jumps to my mind, but some changes with the bail procedures and stuff, I would certainly be happy to be involved in that and see that it continue. That we explore some new ways of doing things, because I think in some ways we're stuck in the criminal law system, and we should explore new ways of doing things.
Thank you.
Andrew?
Good morning.
Good morning.
A couple of questions. Number one, what did you learn from the process last time after you got on the short list? And number two, would you run for judge if you were not appointed?
Let me take the second one first, if I can. I don't think so. I don't think so, because I'm not really a political person. It's not something that I've considered it, especially with so many women being elected in the last couple of years. It's certainly, I think, something a lot of people have thought about. I don't really see myself doing that. I don't think I would be able to justify taking on that expense, because nobody's come forward and said that they want to support me for a judge or anything. So I think I would be taking that on, and I can tell you for a fact that my husband would not like that idea of us putting our finances on the line. I think it's very different, of course, if you're already a sitting judge and you're doing a good job. And so from that, I think that would give me the confidence to go forward. So that's why I wouldn't have a problem with running a campaign at that time. But I don't really see myself putting myself on the line and putting my finances on the line to do that. I guess I think I would be a very good judge, and I do want to do it. I don't want to put it ahead of my family. I have a son that's about to go to college, and a son who's a couple years, about 6 years away from college. So that is a factor that would keep me from running. And I'm sorry, the first question you asked again?
What did you learn last time
What did I
after you
learn?
got on the short list?
I learned, well, the first thing that comes to mind, I learned that the only way to impress a teenager in your household is if you're actually going to be interviewed by the governor, because he was not impressed to hear that I was going to be interviewed by the governor's lawyers. He went right back to his video game. But another thing that surprised me, especially with this panel, and I'm not sucking up, I swear I'm not, but I was very impressed by how professionally everything was done and how polite everybody was, and even when hard questions were asked of me and other people, I was really appreciative of how that was handled.
We can change that.
No. That's one of the reasons that I'm not quite as nervous as I think I would have been, because I know how fairly and how well I and other people were treated. Did I learn anything else? I was a little surprised at how the interviews were handled in Tallahassee, which is very different from the way this panel handles them. And I was just a little surprised by that. Not good or bad necessarily, just surprised.
What was the difference?
I think I was surprised that they were less interested in me personally. There were no personal questions asked whatsoever, and I understand they probably saw this video, they saw my application, but I don't know, it felt like this panel was more interested in me as a person, how I would handle things, and I thought that their answers were a little more generic, and I wish that I had more time to talk to them about my thoughts and that kind of thing.
David?
With that sort of personal theme of you, you and your personality, can you tell us something, a characteristic of yours that would be beneficial to your role as a circuit judge, and then also a characteristic that might be something that you have to overcome?
Oh, okay, that's a tough one. Well, the first part's easy. I think the organization that I refer to and flexibility, I think I'm very good at recognizing what needs to be done and then doing what needs to be done. I don't belabor problems by wondering forever, what to do. I think that's very important to start taking some action and then change your direction based on, what's happening on the ground. So those would be the two things I would say that are positive. Negative. And I'm not just trying to be dramatic and say, well, I don't can't think of anything negative, but I'm sure that there's somebody who would think of something negative that they could say about me. But honestly, nothing's really coming to mind. I have no problem if anyone wants to shout anything out or suggest anything, and I'd be happy to address it. But I think I've been in front of so many judges. I've been in the courtroom for a long time. I think I have a really good handle on what's needed, and it's different in every situation. Every different every different seat, every different criminal is different from family, etc. I think I have a good handle on knowing that I would have to bone up every single time I changed a division to something I wasn't familiar with.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Kathy?
No questions.
Suzanne, the one question I have is, since you've now been through the process, you've been through the governor's process, if you make the short list, you receive a call from me sometime this evening, what or who is the first person you're going to call or do to try to maybe be a little more prepared or to cross the finish line?
I think it would be one of the persons that I talked to before when I prepared, and I hesitate to say the name, but Judge Taylor was very helpful to me last time. She was very generous with her time, and she wasn't the only one. I mean, I've had a lot of people that had gone through the experience before, but I think she was the most helpful in terms of questions to think about that they might ask, and very supportive of keep trying. If this isn't your time, then keep trying. And of course, my first time being up there, I didn't expect it to be my time. So I think she would be one of the first people that I would approach about that.
Thank you. Any follow-up questions? Okay. Well, we will see you back then at 1 o'clock.
You want me back, you know
No,
I'll
for
be
the
here.
hard
For
questions.
the meeting.
For the mean stuff.
The me questions?
Yes.
Well,
No, we'll think of something
No.
negative for you and get it to
oh,
you.
I thought you meant asking someone else at 1 o'clock.
No.
No, no, I think you've waived your questions.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for